Hey Timmy here, I talk about my journey towards becoming a master's student in the performing arts. And today we're gonna talk about my audition for Columbia and DePaul. Yes, so for my first day auditioning in NYC, I had 2 schools scheduled in. I personally did not want to do that, but if I remember correctly, these 2 schools were only auditioning that weekend, and because I already had another audition scheduled the next day, I had to make it work. Thinking back, I realized I wasn't really nervous about the auditions. I guess being the audition whore that I am in KL really helped me. Well, I guess I didn't really have the time to be nervous because being in Manhattan for the first time, it was honestly a lot to take in, and I was really excited to explore the city and experience auditioning there. Anyway, so this is what went down on Saturday, 19th of January 2019. Good morning from New York. Today is the day. It's the first batch of auditions. This morning I'm auditioning for Columbia, and in the afternoon I'm auditioning for DePaul. And I have this ridiculous thing on so that I can keep my voice warm. And I've already done all of my warm-up work. I'm just ready to head to the subway, head on the train, get to Nash for the audition, and then in the afternoon head back to the other way to the Ripley Greer studio for DePaul. Let's go! If you do not know Manhattan, it has a grid system where the street number increases as you move from south to north. So Columbia was up north in Harlem/Upper Manhattan on 130-something street, and DePaul held his session in Midtown Manhattan down on 30-something street at the famous Ripley Greer Studios where big shows hold their auditions, reading workshops, whatever. And because I was there on business and not vacay, I did my homework about the subway route the night before, and even as I was on the train, after the first night's misadventure, I checked and checked again just to make sure I knew how to go where so I wouldn't be late to either session. I am here, I'm at the right stop. I'm I think half an hour early, so that's cool. So let's get to the audition space as soon as I can and stay there, stay warm and warm up again. If you do not know Manhattan, different sections of the island give off a different feel or vibe. To draw an analogy using KL or the general Klang Valley, much like how PJ has a different vibe or feel than, say, Puchong or Cheras or KLCC, Manhattan is kinda like that. Midtown Manhattan is kinda like Bukit Bintang, where the lights and sounds and big Broadway shows are, and Upper Manhattan is more chill and quiet. The moment I got down from the train at the 125th Street station, I could already feel the different vibe that the area gave off. It's so different than, say, not even Midtown, but Upper West Side where I stayed. It's much quieter, but still had its own sort of charm. And perhaps because I've never been there before, I was really taken by that green and majestic railway. Anyway, after I got off the train, I was lost for a moment there because I couldn't tell which way was north, and my phone data was acting up, so I had to rely on the public Wi-Fi, which also did not have the best of reception. But I managed and eventually found the right place, and I was not late. Made it. I'm here. See it? MFA auditions. Here. Made it! So excited! Look at that, it says 5th floor, here we go. Yes! This is it, I am here. Columbia University, auditioning for the theater program. Yes, somebody brought a dog to the place. Anyway, perhaps because I was, I think, the first batch in the morning, I thought the welcoming reception was a little awkward. Like, the admission staff was going through again the check-in instructions with the current students who were helping out, and they weren't sure which room they wanted to open up for warm-ups. But I didn't mind any of that. If anything, it just helped me ease in a little bit. Anyway, after the admission staff and current students helped us sign in, we were taken to the waiting room to put our stuff down, and then we were shown the warm-up rooms. Audition candidates were free to roam between the warm-up rooms and the waiting room until we were called. There were two warm-up rooms. I used the one with the windows because the other one was occupied. And because there were open windows, warm-up was a little bit of a challenge for me because I was not used to the weather, which was cold. It was just a little harder to get the heart rate going and the body to sweat, and most obviously it affected the voice because it just felt dry even throughout the rest of the day. Anyway, the audition happened really quickly. So how it worked was, I was led to the room by a current student who introduced me to the panel before showing me in. And once I was in the room, because the panel already knew my name, so self-introduction was not required, and we moved straight into the material that they asked for, which were 2 monologues, 1 classical and 1 contemporary, and a 16-bar song sung a cappella or a brief movement piece. I did Laertes from Hamlet, Tom Wingfield from The Glass Menagerie, and I sang It Only Takes a Taste from Waitress. I chose to sing because I was not familiar with the floor and I did not want any mishaps to happen on my first audition. But thinking back, I should probably have done the movement piece instead of singing. Only because I think more people, especially guys, would be singing than dancing. But whatever. Once I was done presenting my material, I was dismissed and I left the room. I am done with my turn. I did everything I could. I think it was great, so now I just gotta wait and see if I get the end of our callback. If I don't, so be it. I thought I did great, but yeah, that's all that matters. While waiting for the end of our callback, since I did not want to disturb other candidates preparing for their turn, I basically just talked to the current students about their experience in Colombia. And that's when I found out that some of the students actually auditioned for grad schools 2 to 3 times before getting anything. And some of them auditioned, got in, not necessarily Colombia, and decided not to attend and sat on the matter for a year or 2 before auditioning all over again. These stories really grounded me and gave me something to think about, because honestly, my streak of luck at that point in time really got me confident about things, so much so that in my mind I was thinking I was gonna get into some schools, and it didn't truly occur to me that this whole trip could be all for nothing. But then again, even if I did not get into any schools, I would still have the experience of seeing New York. Anyway, came 11 o'clock. Okay, done with Colombia. I didn't get into the callback, but I thought my audition was great regardless, but I guess it's the end of the journey. Let's focus my energy on the next one. It's been fun. And just like that, my whole Colombia experience was over and I had 3 hours to spare. I was really expecting it to end at 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. and that I would have to rush over for DePaul session at 2 p.m. But good for me, I had some spare time so I could chill and explore the area a little bit more. Because I only had a bagel in the morning, the hunger really kicked in after the audition adrenaline went down. So I went to this local, non-franchise fast food restaurant. It was a little weird because the door and the menu said Lincoln Fried Chicken, but the food packaging said Kennedy Fried Chicken. But whether Lincoln or Kennedy, it was very American with its red, white, and blue decor. After my early lunch, I walked back to the train station to make my way midtown. And that was when the reality of the Columbia audition kicked in. I was a little sad and also upset at the same time. Sad because, well, a rejection is a rejection, and upset because, well, I did not really like how the audition was run. I just think it was not encouraging or nurturing, and it just felt like they were going through the rounds, like the candidates were fighting for a job instead of trying to go back to school. In my mind, there were 2 big thoughts that were like debating against each other. One thought was, it can't be all like that, it must be just Columbia because they're such a big and famous school. Versus, maybe that's just how things are done in America. As I got to the train station, I just kind of accepted that maybe that's just how things are, and I just needed to up my audition game. But, spoiler alert, I was to be proven wrong by the rest of my auditions there in the coming days because all the other schools' audition was, in my opinion, much kinder and more nurturing, unlike Columbia, which, again, in my opinion, treated us like acting machines. And I know I'm not the only one who feels this way because at my other auditions, I spoke to candidates who also auditioned for Columbia, and a number of them agreed with me. Anyway, my not so pleasant session with Columbia in the morning was thankfully countered in the afternoon by DePaul's lovely audition, which we're about to dive into. But first, and only in New York subway story. So, as I boarded the train, I was trying to put my thoughts about Columbia behind. I was thinking about DePaul and what I wanted to do after the audition, which was to go check if there were tickets available for the band's visit, which was a show that I really wanted to watch. When I stepped onto the train, I locked eyes with this person in this bright red winter jacket. It was a split second of awkward moment before both of us looked away. He was doing things on his phone and I was just like, what was that? And then it clicked in me that that face looked familiar. I cracked my head for a moment and then, the band's visit. So I quickly looked up the class list for the band's visit and bam, there it was, John Cariani. I looked for a headshot for a better look and then tried to match that face with the face on the train, which was still down looking at his phone. And then some people got off the train and there were seats available. He sat down in one and there was an empty seat beside him, so I quickly just sat beside him. And at this point in time, I was still trying to match his face with the picture on my phone using the window opposite us whenever there was a reflection. And then I thought, this is really stupid. I can find out if I just asked him. I'm all alone here in New York, nobody knows me here, so there's nothing to lose. So with that thought, I just mustered up my courage and quite literally just tapped him on the shoulder. He immediately took off his earphones and looked straight at me. And I popped the question in the most awkward manner. Are you John Cariani? And in the most pleasant, non-judgmental manner, he said, yes, I am. Are you an actor too? My jaw dropped open. But I quickly recovered and told him, yes, I am, and I was there to audition for schools, and we just talked about theater and languages, and I told him I was going to go watch the band's visit, but he told me he's no longer in the show, and we just talked until I missed my stop. But I had time to spare, so I just continued taking the train with him until he got off, and I got off with him so that I could take the train back the other direction. He gave me his email address, we took a picture, and we just said goodbye. Holy shit, you won't believe it, but I just met John Cariani from the band's visit. He's no longer in the show, but this is also cool. I met him on the subway and we just talked about theater and languages and yeah, the actors unite, theater actors unite. I have no idea where I am now because I just followed him on the train so that we can talk because I'm not in a hurry, so I'll have to take the train back, but this is all just so cool. Theater is just a global language. Actors unite. Seriously, really. It was such a pleasant surprise and so wonderful talking to him because he's not just an actor, but he's a writer too. And the fact that the first question he asked was, are you an actor too? With no judgment, no side eyes, says a lot about him. Maybe I manifested his presence by thinking about the band's visit. Anyway, with my heart full, I took the train back and got off at Penn Station to get to the Ripley Greer Studios on 8th Avenue. Oh, the Penn Station is like a hub and there are so many exits, I don't know which one to get to, but thank you to the NYPD people. I'm finding my way to the Ripley Greer Studio for the MFA audition for DePaul. Let's go. It's getting colder and colder. Found a place on my way up. Wish me luck for this one. I'm feeling this one. Let's go. So I am done with the DePaul audition and I loved every moment of it because very true to the theater spirit. They didn't cut people like we were fighting for a job because we were auditioning for school. So what went down was everyone got to do their 2 monologues followed by an interview, and then the whole group was called into the room for a brief movement class, and after that they paired us up to do a short improv scene. And I love my scene partner, a new friend, Russell Norris. I just wish for the best things for him now, because the conversation that we had outside of the audition room before we went in for our scene, there was just so much heart, and I cannot believe how we made such a connection in such a short time. And yeah, we've added each other on Facebook, and we are actually going to try to meet each other again before I leave, like for lunch or dinner, just for a meal or something, just to catch up, because I feel like there's much more to speak about. I mean, I feel like we have a connection there. Yeah, I adore you, Russell. I wish you the best, really, Russell. I think you can do it. Now that I'm done with auditions for the day, I'm gonna try to hunt and see if I can get any tickets for any of these shows. The Band's Visit, Dear Evan Hansen, Waitress, Wicked, or Phantom. Let's see. Behind me here is the Nederlander Theater, where my favorite show, New Season, used to be, but now it's Pretty Woman. And this side is Aladdin, but I think this is not the right entrance to get around to the other side to get it. My first Broadway show experience, not the big extravaganza stuff like Phantom or Frozen, but like small, relatively small stories about the human heart, Waitress, and the Band's Visit. And I'm so happy I got these cheap. Am I at the Times Square? I think I'm at the Times Square. I think this is actually a Times Square. Look at all the glitz, glamour, the colors. Wow, I just walked, and I didn't even realize that I'm at the Times Square now. Wow. I was watching Waitress that night and the Band's Visit the next day, and since there was a little time to spare before the show started, I went to try the dollar pizza. The pizza was not bad actually, so if I'm in New York, I'm short of cash, I don't think I would mind eating that every day, I think. Because I took my sweet time eating the pizza, I ended up having to run back to the Brooks Atkinson Theater for Waitress and made it just in time to enter with the last batch of audience. And after the show, because I know enough about Broadway show culture, instead of dilly-dallying in the theater, I immediately dashed to the nearest exit and stood in line at the stage door. And good thing I was quick, because it was drizzling a little bit and I got to stand at the roofed area instead of under the rain. And because it was drizzling, there was no guarantee that the actors would come out to sign actually. But some of them actually did. And more importantly, the Queen and King, Sarah Bareilles and Gavin Creel, actually came out. Whoa, she has a poster! Thank you so much!
Can I have one for the of course.
Just gonna go get pens.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks for coming.
Such a good job.
Thank you.
They were really nice, and I thought Sarah Bareilles had a really good strategy. She only signed but did not do pictures. So how it worked was she would sign everything from playbills to posters to albums, but because it was so much, she just told the crowd to take whatever pictures and videos that they needed, but she didn't actually pause to smile at cameras. Well, that's one way to do it. Smart.
So I just saw Waitress. It's Saturday night, it's a two-show day, so the cast sounded obviously tired, but they still did an amazing job. The message was still across, it was still very touching. Sarah Bareilles was great, Gavin Creel was great, everybody was great, but I think they dropped it a semitone for Dawn's solo because I think her voice was just feeling a bit rough. But overall, it's a really, really good experience, even though it's a standing seat. I didn't mind, it's just good. Now I'm looking forward to watching the band's visit, which is just across the street tomorrow. Let's go. And now it's like really, really raining, so I need to get home as soon as I can. It's freezing out here.
And that wraps up my first audition day in NYC. In the coming video, I will talk about my audition for the Actors Studio Drama School, which was dramatic, and my adventure after the audition. So stay tuned, follow, and subscribe. Thank you, bye! Oh yes, I want to say a thank you to all the people who have donated to my crowdfunding campaign, whether online or offline. Your support means the world to me. While I'm finding more ways to raise money, please help share the campaign out with your friends and family and keep the donations coming. Thank you!